Good morning. Good morning. Are you there? It's so strange sitting alone here in my little shack above the garage. Good to have your company. I know you're there. Let me just check. The volume's working. Yes, it is. And it says live on the screen. There they come. Good morning. It's so good to have your company. Week 6. God, what is going on, eh? How are you coping with it? How are you coping with this lockdown? It's been a long time. It's crazy, isn't it? I don't know about you, but it's kind of going through phases in my head, and it's not getting easier, that's for sure. Come on in. We're early to the party. It's 4 minutes to 10. 4 minutes to 10. I've been here since 5 o'clock this morning. 5 o'clock this morning. Crazy. I haven't been waiting for 5 hours, or no, I've been here because on Thursday there are a couple of Pergamano TV shows on Hochanda, and I thought it would make best sense to get up really, really early and do the VTs, because one of them is for an introduction to multi-needle tools, and I need to have a really clear head for that kind of stuff. So I thought I'll do it early rather than later. So I got up at 5 o'clock and I did it, and it went really well, and I'm really pleased with it. So if you have any interest at all in groovy, parchment art, multi-needle tools, on Thursday, 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock, I'm taking a real slow, leisurely path through. I'll be guiding you through some really simple basic steps using Linda Williams' beautiful artwork as a vehicle. It's really nice. Takes as long as it takes, parchment, you know. But there you are. That's on Thursday, and today is Tuesday already. 3 minutes to 10. Come on in, welcome. Just to put the record straight, it is May the 5th, 2020. May the 5th. It's my dad's birthday tomorrow. And Jilly's birthday. And Karen Brooks' birthday. Must have been 6th of May is a good day for birthdays. Can't find a bike for my dad though. I think everyone and their brothers bought one in this lockdown, haven't they? Come on in. Good morning. Bonjour. Where are you today? I'm in Crowborough in East Sussex. Same place I've been for the last 6 weeks. But it's okay. It's safe. And I don't care what Boris Johnson says on Thursday. I have a brain. I know what to do. And I'll know when I'm comfortable with being in crowds again. Won't you too? I think we're not daft. I don't think I need to get it spelled out for me. I'll know. Come on in. It's only 2 minutes to 10. And today I thought it would be nice to do some colouring. And so that's where we're headed. We're going to do colouring today. I couldn't believe that so many of you struggled with yesterday's pattern. I will blog it today, step by step, because maybe you're more of a visual person, you know, like maybe you need to see step by steps. So I'll blog that for you. Good morning. Come on in, grab a seat, bring your tea, bring your coffee. Bring your tea, bring your coffee. Yeah, so I'll blog the pattern I did yesterday. One step at a time. BarbaraGrayBlog.com. I blog every day, 1 day at a time. And we doodle every day, don't we, at 10 o'clock in the morning. 1 doodle at a time. And so today, and we've been threatening to do this for weeks since the inception of this little idea in the SHAC, we're going to go over to colouring for a little while, because many of you have bought those lovely postcards of ours. And so today we're going to start. And it's 10 o'clock. Come on in. Good morning. Bonjour. Come in. Grab a seat. Lovely to have your company. Stuart's in with us today. Not in here. I'm on my own. navigating the cameras, but I think they will all work, and I'll do my level best to stay in vision. But do bear with me if my head gets in the way or suddenly the artwork wanders away. You know, I'm on my own up here. I haven't got anybody in my ear. There's not a technical team guiding me or prompting me. It's me, you know. And this is just us getting together as a load of mates, having a cup of tea and doing something together. That's what SHAC is all about. Safe, happy and creative. Stay home and craft. Ain't that the truth? Come on in. Bonjour. Hi, Hilda. Nice to have your company. So, shall we get started? Are you ready? The sun's trying to come out. Sun's trying to come out. Yeah, it's quite a Pergamano week this week. We launched our new Pergamano website last night. It's really lovely. Well done, the team. Well done, Jim. Well done, Jilly, and everybody who's been working on it. It's really smashing. And what's really cool, if you go there, pergamano.com, right, just saying. If you go, what's brilliant is when you go over, if you hover over a piece of artwork, it's tagged, which is so clever, because normally you look at a piece of artwork and you think, well, what plate was used? What groovy plate was used? What multi-needle tool was used? What parchment was used? What colour? We're always asking ourselves, because we're trying to not decompose it, but deconstruct it, right? And then recompose it. And so now you hover over the artwork and these little numbers pop up and it tells you exactly. And it's so clever. So there's something to build on. Right, have a look, pergamano.com. There's a big sale on there as well. So today, let me get my phone out of the way. Can you hear me all right? Are we going to get started? Let's have a look. Yesterday, we did our pattern, didn't we? Do you remember? So I'm going to blog that because some of you struggled with that one. And then I added a little bit of colour because it reminded me so much of the good old days of Canterbury Cathedral, Rochester Cathedral and Fort Pitt, where I went to school. Fort Pitt, you know, that was Florence Nightingale in the Crimean War. That was her hospital up there in Fort Pitt. Aye, that's where I went to school. That's my claim to fame. But it's ironic now that the hospitals that are popping up all over, like Excel and that in London, they're being called the Nightingale hospitals. Interesting. Now, and we're on a nuthatch. So what I did was, I went to, many of you have got these postcards, so I hope that you do. If you don't, you can colour in anything you fancy. The object of this exercise is to show you a few tricks and tips on how to colour in. And also today I thought it would be a really good idea to colour in a larger expanse, because I think that's quite a challenge. You know, if you look at some of these postcards, let's have a look. See, there's some that, like the doves, there are loads of little elements. Right, these ones, funky birds, the flowers within the birds. But then there are some, like these, where they've got larger areas to colour in. Like here, the flamingo. The flamingo's gorgeous. So I thought, carrying over from the Japanese girl, if we look here, do you remember what we did on Friday when we did the sunrise or the sunset, the Japanese sunrise, sunset? This is really cool because it transfers directly into the nuthatch's body. So are you cool? Are we going to try this? Come on in. Good morning. Don't say you can't do it. You haven't even started yet. You really should stop saying I can't and start saying I can. Because whether you say I can or I can't, either way, you are probably right. I'm using a blank one from a different set so that obviously we're all on the same hymn sheet. Also, did I mention that Stuart's in? Yes, Stuart's in with you this morning, helping. And if you've got any questions, go to Stuart. He's more than happy to help you. He's very knowledgeable. He's also very involved with our new website. He's the guy that gives the website that the look, you know. Right, so let's have a look. Have you got the nuthatch in front of you? Are you ready to go? Yes, they said in unison. Good. Now, what are we going to use? We've got pergoliners. This is what I'm going to use. You can use any pencils you've got. I've got the pergoliners and I'm going with the blending pens, so the B pencils. And the B pencils are, so I'm going to pop these up here and I'm going to use some of the B pencils. And then I'm also, because I'm going to mix and match it up a little bit, these are sort of oil-based pencils. I'm also going to use my polychromos. So we've got sets of 60, which is a pretty impressive tin of pencils. So I've got to use, I'm using my lovely polychromos, which I've always maintained are the Rolls Royce of the pencil world. So that's it. But the thing is with these ones, you see you've got watercolour ones in here. The A pencils are aqua pencils and the B pencils are like the polychromos, they're blending pens. So we're going to use the B pencils and the polychromos. All right. Now, a little word about colouring in. Let's get one thing straight. The reason we're together is because we want to hang out and we want to keep each other company. The primary purpose of every morning at 10 o'clock, we call it a daily doodle, now it's a daily colour, right? Well, it's not going to be this all the time, but the primary purpose of getting together is to hang out together and not get lonely, bottom line. So if we've got to do something though, I can't just rabbit on for an hour. And so we doodle, we get out of our heads, we do something nice together, and we're crafters in the main, and so we do something crafty. And so today we're going to turn our attention to some colouring, because it's also a very mindful process. Mindful as in it keeps you in the moment. That's really the definition of mindful. It keeps you in the now because you're concentrating on what you're doing. Do you remember the big wave? There was this really massive movement of colouring a couple of years ago. Well, that's because it helps calm your mind and it takes you away from troublesome thoughts. That's the theory, works for me. So this is not a competition, this is not a test, this is not a masterclass, you're not paying for my knowledge. I'm just here to just hang out. Somebody's got to drive the bus, I'm the designated driver, okay? So don't judge me, don't judge yourself, just soak it up and enjoy the hour that we're hanging out together. The first thing we want to do, like we did when we did the sun/moon, right? What we're going to do is start with the body. And what I tend to do, it's an old habit of mine, I tend to write somewhere on a bit of scrap or on the back. See, because if I did this 3 days ago, what are the chances of finding the right colour when I go back to it? So I actually went to one of my Pergamano pencils. I went to the B10, see? So I write it down on the back and then I know that's what I'm going to use. Then I used the B16, which is a nice light blue. There we are. So I used that one. And then I went, the only thing I don't like about pergoliners is that there's no greys in there. And believe you me, we've gone to the manufacturers and I've barked at them about trying to get grey included, and their response is computer says no. So that's why you can see in my polychromos my most loved, look at the length of that one, and that's the one we're going to. It's that lovely warm grey. In fact, it's called warm grey. Funny that. Right. So those are the three that I'm going to use. And then the other one, let's have a look. Have I got one in here? You could use, yeah, I'll have to use you want a white pencil. So it's more for effect than anything. White on white you can't see. But it works like a kind of to me, it's like a texturizer. So I'll just put that in there. I want to show you a couple of tricks. And then we'll use darker colours as we go down. Okay, are you happy with the colours? If you haven't got any colouring pencils, do you know, use an HB pen. Do you know, we've been doing it for 5 weeks now. Shading, haven't we? Colouring in. Just, if you haven't got any colouring pencils, do a lovely black and white one. You know, it's doesn't matter what you do, it's just do something. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. Right, so we'll take this one, B10, and let's just start. And what we're going to do, so I've always got a bit of a scrap on the side, and then what I'll do is I'm going to make, so it's not sharp, I'll make a flat side, you see, like that. Just make a flat side like that. And then that, you see, this is going to give me an undercoat. So when I start now, I start at the bottom, right, and I'm going to start, and I'll do it slowly so that you can see it. Let me just come in on this camera. So what I'm doing is I'm going slowly like that. There we are. Slowly round the edge. And I'm not actually touching the paper too hard, right? See, so now I'm going round and round, slowly, slowly, with that flat chisel edge. There you go. Think about using these postcards as well, because they're a good thick quality. You don't get your brass, you know, like when you've got scratching or you've got something scratchy in your mat, it doesn't pick it up because it's thicker than that. Good quality. So let's just put an undercoat down. You don't want to press too hard, because if you press too hard, thing about these pencils and the polychromos, what happens is they create like a sheen, like a wall of oil. It's like a seal. Once you seal it, it doesn't matter how hard you press, you won't be able to add any more colour. It's like you've closed it. You've closed the colour. If you do that, because you're pressing too hard, then all you've got to do is take your eraser, your rubber, your pink one. Make sure you haven't got any black on it from yesterday. And then you can rub over the top. And that makes the seal again. That's easy, isn't it? See, so now I've got that colour down. And then let's just stay with this colour. And now let's take that light grey one. And again, just going to add a bit of, come on in, good morning. Good morning. So I'm mixing it up because I also know that some of you have got pergoliners and some of you have got polychromos and some of you are sitting on the fence and some of you have got, you can use Spectrum Noirs, you can use, there are so many different pencils out there. Like Caran d'Ache, they're all lovely. I have to pick my two. I pick the pergoliners because we own Pergamano and they're really good. And I pick the polychromos because I've always loved the polychromos. I used to work with Faber-Castell back in the day when I lived in Germany. Okay. And to me, there's nothing to touch them. But that's my opinion. And opinions are like noses. Everyone's got one, right? So what I'm doing now is, you see, I'm going back over the top with that light grey, not pressing too hard. But again, these are circular motions. Oh, hello. Sorry. Don't shout at me. Do not shout at me. It doesn't help. If I go out of view, I go out of view. I'll soon figure it out, but it's very hard to look at the camera, look at what I'm doing, think about what I'm saying, and actually colour in something that's worth looking at. So just walk a mile in my shoes before you bark at me, because it's not going very well, this barking. It's not doing my head any good. Right, now, so what I'm going to do is, if I go over the edge, that's the other thing, you see. The lovely thing about these pencils, they rub out really nicely with that eraser pencil. Funny enough, it's got Faber-Castell all over the side. So clearly they had a plan when they came up with the pencils too, didn't they? Right, now. So you can see, if we look at the third one through this camera now, you'll see, let's let it just sharpen. You'll see that we've got a really nice, just one layer of that peachy colour, that pergoliner, and now I've toned it down with that grey, sort of browny grey colour over the top. You use what you've got. Use what you've got. We've got to make do with what we've got, okay? So if you don't have the colours I've got, then figure out an alternative that works. I can only use what I've got. I can't guarantee that I'll use what you've got. And when it comes to the greys, your HB pencils will be ideal too, won't they? They'll work really well. So you see now we've got that area there. Now when it comes to the grey area, I'm going to go into my grey box. This is where I go into my grey box. But let me show you a little trick. If I take my white pencil, see how it's a little bit textured on his tummy? I don't know if you can see this, but it's quite textured if you go fast forward. Let me come in as close as I can. Let it focus. See the flecks? Looks quite real, doesn't it? It's not just coloured in like block. So I want to show you the flecks. You can get them by introducing a little bit of whiteness. And the idea is that the white almost acts like, if you do this over the top, just flick some white. Because what I'm doing now is I'm adding a couple of, like, resist is what we call it in craft world, isn't it? Like resist flecks. If you don't like them, you can always take them out again. But I've just added a couple of little white resist flecks. Let's call them that. When we go in with the greys and the different colours, what will happen is they won't sit so well. They'll kind of wrap the colours. The darker colours will wrap themselves around those colours. Okay. So I'm going back in with my orangey one. Okay. Because I think we need a little bit more depth, don't we? One of the things that you'll figure out with me is that I take my time. Really, see now as I go over this, you'll see where the white is. The orange isn't. See if I can show you in here. See if you can see it. The white is resisting now. As I go over with a darker orange, just to show you, you'll see there are some white flecks in there. And the white flecks, you see them? They're not because I've deliberately missed bits, it's because that's where I put the white pencil. So it's just little tricks. I said yesterday, and I say it again and again, I don't have an art degree. I have O-level art is all I have. What one am I using now? I'm going to a darker grey. It's a bit dark. What have I got there? Grey 5. Yeah, I've got two the same. I thought they looked similar. Just go to a grey. I'm going to flatten it a little bit so it's a bit softer rather than the edge. And then what I'm going to do, let's just put a little layer down here. Yeah, so what I'm saying is I don't have an art degree. I've spent my life since the kids were born in art world, and even when I was in a different world, in language and corporate world and that, I always used to draw. It was my pastime. It was what I really used to like doing, was drawing. I used to just like drawing line art actually, which I suppose that's why I ended up with a stamp company, because I wasn't much good at colour. Teacher told me that. So I just stuck to line art, and I guess that's why I became a stamp artist, because I could draw line art. And when you draw stamps, what do you need? You need line art, don't you? Have a look here. See how I'm chiseling into that area? Let's have a look. See? And it's interesting, as I get into the area where I flecked white, you get that flecky effect. Now let's have a look. If I stay there, I wonder if I come to this camera, let's go up here. See, for the telly one, I couldn't go in so close. I'm up on the chair again now. Let's see if I can come in more like that. That might help us a bit. Means I might come out a little bit, but how's that? Is that better? There you go. Okay. So you can see now I'm adding some grey up here. So we're going into that area. And what you'll find is I spend a lot of time. I mean, obviously this is taking longer than even normal because I'm talking, I want to get it right, I want to show you. where to put the shadow. So I'm using the tip of the pencil now. You know, like we've been doing it for weeks now. Shadow, drop shadow, depth. And then I use the flat of the pencil to add a bit of depth, you see. If when I start colouring like this, I think, hang on a minute, there's nothing, I'm not adding anything, then that will be because I've sealed it. And you know now, the way to unseal it is just to lightly rub over it with an eraser. Right, here we go. How are you doing? Is this okay? Hope so. So one layer at a time, one area at a time. I tend to, this is how I work, but everybody does it differently. You may want to get a bit more, a faster result, in which case perhaps you'll put an undercoat over the whole thing. See, I prefer to get a really beautiful, like I'm happy when I've got one image done, and then I'll move, well, from her or him, I would go over to this one, and then I'd go into that bird, you see, and then I'd go over to this bird. And I was playing a little bit with greens to see which green I wanted to use for some of the foliage in the background. So, but this is going to be completely filled by the time I'm done and we're done. But it's just a question of getting a feel for the side of the pencil, the flat of the pencil, the tip of the pencil, you know. When it comes to sharpening, that's worth talking about as well. When you sharpen your pencils, when they start to get a bit, when they start to need sharpening, there are sharpeners out there, lots of different ones. Some are better than others. One thing I would say, regardless of whether you're using polychromos or any pencils, or it doesn't matter. When you sharpen slowly. That's the only information that you need to. It's slowly. Like, hang on a minute. Let's just get this going. I don't want to press too hard. You have to give the wood a chance to cut. If you rip through your pencil, the wood cracks. It doesn't matter whether it's the most expensive Faber-Castell or the less expensive Pergoliner. The pencils they can't sharpen fast. So, for example, I like this one. This is my favourite. I don't need to sharpen that one. Let's take one that I could do with a sharpen. That one's gone a bit blunt. When I put that in there, right, I've got to let the wood. If I go too fast, like, I'm pretending now, right? Then what will happen is this wood cracks, and then this falls out. The pigment just will fall out of the shaft. So it's just a question of sharpening it moderately, like so, and then take a piece of copy paper. This is how I do it. And then I use my copy paper, or you could use a little bit of emery cloth or sandpaper. They do sell, they actually sell sandpaper on a stick, and you use it and use it and use it, and when it's absolutely done, you peel the top one off, and I've got one somewhere. I'll see if I can dig it out and I'll show you. That's what it's for anyway. Right, so you see, so you can make a chisel edge, you can go round to make your points. Back in the day, these used to cost about £3 a pencil, polychromos. So you did not waste pencil by sharpening it, you know. You really didn't. I remember being in France we took the design team down to a retreat with our friends, Elizabeth and Alain. Elizabeth will be colouring in. Bonjour, Elizabeth. And we took the design team down, and there were about, 20 of us, I'd say. And we stayed with Alain and Elizabeth in Brittany. And I remember I took my polychromos along, because I thought, well, someone would want to use them, I'm sure. And I heard it before I was able to say anything. but somebody brought an electric sharpener along, no names mentioned. And she thought she'd do me a favour and sharpen my pencils. I nearly had a cardiac arrest. And all my pencils, they ended up like little cigarette butts. They were like little fags. They were about that long. Like, vroom, vroom, vroom. They were sharp, I'll give her that. Mortified. Mortified. I just remember thinking, there I am with my sandpaper trying to extend the life of my lovely polychromo pencil, £3 a pop. Not that they're £3 now. And bless her, she's decided she needs to sharpen them for me. Right. See now, have a look. Wait, remember where I put the white in? Can you see it? Look, it's coming together beautifully. What the white does is, it gives it that lovely texture. Look, see, when I go over that peachy colour, look, can you see it? It's really lovely. And you can add more of that white resist. Look, see? It's, to my mind, it's the most effective way. I don't know, I made it up, I don't know. I didn't find it anywhere. I just figured it out, because when you're a crafter, you work out, don't you? You got Versamarks, they create a resist. You've got Versamark pens, they create a resist on certain paper. You've got wax or oil-based pencils, of course. If you used a crayon, a wax crayon, that would create a resist. So my O-level art says to me, well, if this is waxy, surely it's going to do the same thing. And it really does. Right, so, are we all right here? Have you all left the building, or are we happy? If you haven't bought the postcards yet, treat yourself, because I reckon we're going to be doing this for a long time. If you haven't got the postcards at the moment, get the geisha out and colour her in, you know? It's been 6 weeks since we started. People were starting to wonder why they bought the postcards. So, of course, I can't please all the people all the time. That's becoming apparent. Right, now let's have a look. So I'm going to add that. See, I've got lovely colouring there. What do you think? And if I wanted to add a little bit more peach, then I can go in now, see, and I can add a lovely, look, so here we go now. I've got my, yeah, here we are, core. So I've got my greys, I've got my stipples. See how you can change it? From a theory point of view, right, you've got choices. You can either go round, like that's one way of colouring, isn't it? You go round, or you go feathery, like that. Hatching, they call it. Or you go cross hatching, which means you go hatch and then you go cross hatch, like that. Yeah? So that's another way. And then the other thing that you can do, which we often use to great effect, is stippling, where you just dot 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 dot. And that you can create lovely effects. We'll do a bit of stippling as well in a minute. Right, so that'll do for the moment. You know we're going to go in blacker there. You can see we're going to go in blacker there. How about we do the cap? Should we try the cap? How you doing? So this is how I colour. Everybody colours in differently. I really take my time. I take my time. And people say, cool, your work's lovely. It's like, yeah, but it took a long time. But then I've got time and I want it to be nice. And so I spend time building up layers, building up layers. If you want to improve your skills, your colouring skills, then what you have to give it is time. That is the most important thing. And some people would say, it takes too long. I would say, depends what you want your result to be, you know? So my job is just to show you how I do it. And then you can pick the bits that you think are interesting and the rest just leave behind. So now I'm going to take my pergoliner and I'm going to use the 16, B16. Any blue will do, but we're going to do the cap. Let's do the cap. And again, it's the same thing. Got a bit of a flat, get a flat going, and then we'll just put an undercoat down of that blue. Here we go. It comes together quite quickly. It's only taking forever because I've got to talk and explain. And here we go. I don't have an art qualification, so I just want to. I know how to get a result. I know how to. Sometimes I think it's not a bad thing that I don't know the rules, you know, because I didn't learn the rules. I don't know the rules, and because I don't know the rules, I can't break them. Can I? I'm going to add a little bit of white, just as a bit of... I remember years ago, years and years ago, 30 plus years ago, I had a boyfriend who was an artist. I lived in Germany. Actually, do you know what? I think I'm going to go in with a light grey. He was a German fella and a very talented artist. See how the white, it just acts as a resist. It's clever. He was a fantastic artist. He was self-taught as well. He didn't go to art college. And I used to watch him when he worked. And he lived in a right chaos, like real messy. It was like a warehouse kind of thing. Yeah. Now I suppose we'd call it an atelier, but in those days to me it just looked like a shed. Anyway, so I used to watch him, and he'd have this huge artwork. He'd be working on large pieces, and late into the night, no rules, nothing. You know, we always have this preconception, don't we, of an artist. You know, he's got a beret on and a palette, and he, you know, and he holds the paintbrush between his teeth. Yeah. Well, so I used to watch this fella working, and it was unbelievable. He would, right, layers, guys. He would sit working at his table. He worked on a table like this, and that looked nice. I've got to show you. He would sit working at his table, and he'd have a hairdryer in one hand. He'd have like a toilet roll in that hand, and he would have water, and then he'd paint water on, and then he would dab it with the toilet roll, and then he would dry it because he was impatient, and he'd dry it, and then he'd put the next layer on and he'd dab it, and it would just work with a hairdryer and a toilet roll and a hairdryer and a loo roll. And I used to watch him for hours, and then he'd drink wine straight out of the bottle. You know, he was a proper artist, right? Bohemian. And he would go at this artwork feverishly for hours, drying it, and he would use anything he had available. Toilet roll, hairdryer, you name it. He did not fit the artist, the normal image the preconception that we have of an artist. And then he would show me his artwork, and it would bring you to tears. It was so amazing. So I learned, you see, from him that it doesn't matter, you know, whether you've got a degree or not a degree. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you get the result you want. And how you get there, whether you use polychromos or pergoliners, it's not significant. It's not. You can buy all the stash in the world. You can buy all the pencils and all the pens in the world. But if you don't give your art the time and the attention... Oh, I've got to stop crying. You've just got to let go of this idea that you're not good enough, or your work's not good enough because you're not qualified, or goodness sake, it's art. It's what you want it to be. And I tell you what, that fella's artwork, his commissions, they used to go for thousands and thousands and thousands of marks. They were sold, that tells you something about my age. They were sold before he'd even lifted a toilet roll. That's the truth of it. He was so popular, and people trusted that he would deliver. You know, they just knew that his artwork would be magnificent. So that will do for the head. Sorry about that. Right, the eye. Oh, how do you feel about going for the eye? The eye's not as hard as it looks. When Mel drew this, our friend Mel Turner, when she drew this, she did something really clever by offering us an eye like that, offering up an eye like that. And it's not how you colour it in, it's not what you think you're going to do. Let me show you. What you're going to do is come in, and let's just start with the eye, because see the whiteness around the outside of the eye, around the outside of that centerpiece. Hang on to that, right? And now be aware also that when you do this, if you don't like what you've done, it's no problem. You just rub it out. Now, what I'm going to suggest as well, because I tell you what, an HB pencil, because we've been using it for weeks now, haven't we? You can really get in tight with an HB pencil. Let me sharpen it a bit. So what did we just learn? Sharpen slowly. Same for an HB, you'll find. Let's do this with an HB pencil. And what we're going to do is just bring that, I'm going to leave a little bit of whiteness. I wonder if is this camera better? No, I think I came in so tight on this one. This is the better one, isn't it? Right, there you go. So we've got that little dot there. Leave that. And then we're going to leave a white rim around the outside, and we're going to colour in this area here. Just colour that in. Make that area there. Because the eye makes it, doesn't it? The eye makes it, whether it's a bird or a human or a teddy bear. The eye is what brings the thing to life. I still follow the artist that I was talking about. We're still friends on Facebook and that. And he's right into gorillas at the moment. He's just doing gorillas all the time. I don't know, he must be off on one. But he's at the moment, he just draws gorillas all the time. The eyes that he draws are just too much. Right, they're amazing. So now I'm adding a little bit of depth around the eye, see, and I'm coming away from it. Look, can you see that? How you leave that whiteness, and now I'm using the black pencil just to come through, light feathery strokes. See? Just build up your colour. We're coming from the eye, we're sweeping through. I don't know if this is useful for you. Maybe you feel it's too technical, maybe I'm being too pedantic. But you know, this is how I colour. And I can't colour differently, really. It's just the way I do it. So I've got a little bit of black going through there, just so that I know where I'm going. So we're going to go with black and blue in a minute. Right, very lightly, so I can see where I am. And now I'm going to flick through. So I want to make like a, he's not a badger, but do you see what I mean? If this was a badger, it wouldn't be so dissimilar, would it? Are you enjoying this okay? I thought we could do a little bit of this. I can teach you a few tricks and then you're on your own really. It's just a question of time, honestly. And like I say, that's what I learned from my friend. Time. He used to work on some of his paintings for months, not just a day. See, so you can see what I'm doing here is I'm leaving a little white gap. Oh, which way am I going? Silly me, hang on. Sorry about that. You can see I'm leaving a little white gap. Now, whether I close it or not in a minute, it doesn't matter. I can leave it for now, can't I? It's not a raccoon, not a Rocky Raccoon. But I just wanted to, it gives me an option in a minute to add a little bit of contrast. See? And then I'm going back to that blue again. Where's that lovely blue, the pergola blue? Here it is. Let's do a little bit on the wings, shall we? So it doesn't take that long. It's a lot faster when you haven't got to talk and do at the same time. So this bit here now, see there's a little bit of blue in there, isn't there? So we can run our blue pencil right across, like so. So let's do little feathery strokes like that, and then a little bit darker in there. And then we'll do the same on this, just to get that depth. Hang on, come down a little bit, sorry. There you go, in we go. Make your artwork come to you. There, see? Nice. And here. Right, so we're just going to add a little bit of blue through there. Right, nice. Flick that out. And then on this side as well. So what we're doing here is we're creating layers, aren't we? Yeah? Gently does it. Remember the old waxing over thing if you press too hard? But you have a solution if you do. All you've got to do is apply the eraser and that will free it up again. These are just tricks and tips. This is just stuff that I've learnt along the way from years of just doing this stuff. I used to be like an interpreter, well, I was an interpreter, translator. And my way of switching off back in the day was to draw. It just helped me shut down, unwind. And I used to colour, just with tin of pencils. But I used to sort of draw something and then I'd colour it in. And it was about the process for me. You see, all the time I'm just feathering colour into the feathers. That's all I'm thinking about. Put a bit of blue through that bit there. And I'm aware, for example, with this lovely picture, we've got reeds coming through, we've got grasses to consider. See? And we've got different layers, and it's through applying different shades that you create the layers. Black's a bit strong grey. Let's try a grey. That's a nice grey. And then that one under there, that will make the top pop. See, this is like professional art, I feel. You know, it's lovely, isn't it? It's wall-worthy if you do this right. because the line art is already so spectacular that Mel's drawn. It's already so beautiful. There you go. See, if we had to draw something before we could get to colouring, we'd never get beyond 11 o'clock, would we? How are you doing? Are you enjoying this? I think what's important is that you do what's good for you. If you want to go faster, then go faster. The whole idea is to just do something rather than worry. For my money, I find, but I think that's why parchment art is so. It's so detailed that you get lost in it for hours. See, and with this type of colouring that I'm doing here, you get lost in it for hours, building up the layers. See, so I'm getting in there and then I'm flicking. So you get in and you flick, flick. And you just build up that layer. That's lovely. Just see how it creates dimension. So you can do exactly what we've been doing with the grey, you know, the HBs, with the pencils, except you're doing it with colouring pencils. See, so I'll come round there. Let's get that, separate that one out, because it seems to have blended into the other one. And this here layers on top of that one. Look, see that one there? If you go in there, that one is underneath that one. Do you see? So then you might bring in a little bit more blue in there, because it's darker, isn't it? Like so. Then round the back of that reed, it's going to be grey. It's going to be darker anyway, for sure, isn't it? We just bring a little bit of shadow in, like that. Are there any rules how many pencils to use? I don't know. Ask my old boyfriend. I'd say he didn't used to worry about how many pencils he used or what colour combinations. There are no rules. You just, you know, you got to let go of all that stuff. Oh, I don't know the rules, so I can't do it. I think you need to just let go and just have a go, and you'll figure it out for yourself. I can give you some tips and tricks, and I can, you know, I can say, right, with it. So these are feathers here. So do you know what? I think what we want is a little bit of texture. So I'm going to probably add a little bit of whiteness in there, so that in a minute when I go over with some dark, it probably will give me a bit more texture. Actually, I'll do a bit more in there as well. Yeah, see what happens when I go over it in a minute. If I don't like it, guess what? I'll rub it out. Do you know the other thing I was going to mention? Again, you know, I suppose you figure these things out as you go along, don't you? Is my head in the way? Hope not. There you go. What I was going to mention, blending, right? Because that's another thing that we came up with. Again, not a necessity, but it blooming works, right? Let me just put these in here like this. You've got to figure out what's what here. Oh yeah, there is this. Right, okay. So these are feathers. So do that. Blending. Let's just get these shadows in first, and then I'll get the feathers going. If you take this blending tool, right, so these things, we come out with these, again, Pergamano, right, and what they are is blending nibs, you see, and you put them in, you just use them. I just get a clean one. Just get a clean one. so I can show you. There's a clean one. If I start with a clean one, then, cool, grey. I've got it, I just can't get hold of it. Right, okay. So it goes in the pen, like so. And then you can blend with it. So in other words, if it's dry, I haven't put any colour on it, but say I want to blend the colours together, then say for example on the head, I can go in like this, and you just do small circular motions, and it blends the grey. If you feel your work's too gritty or you don't want, it's quite astounding how this smooths it out. You just, with a dry blender, you can go in, like this is a bit gritty. This bit here looks a little bit, I quite like it, but you may want to smooth it out. And I'm just saying that these blending pens, see that this is great because they're so tight you can get in. See where I left a bit of whiteness? I can go in now and I can take the black from the centre bit here and I can pull it over into the white area, excuse me. And it just pulls it over and smooths out the blackness. Look, you watch. And because the nibs are so tight, you can get into such a tight, delicate area. See, look. His eye's quite good, isn't it? See, so you can get into areas where you can't maybe get in with a pencil. And now I've got a bit of grey on there, you see. I could actually go through this and just smooth it out. And what it does is it blends the colours together so the blue and the grey become one. Just little circular motions. But it's entirely up to you how much time you want to invest. See, this to me is like the most addictive thing on the planet. It so is. I could retire and just do this for life. Drawing, and then adding colour, and then blending and adding layers. And then let's take that lovely, that colour there. That's that warm grey. And I'll just add a little bit of warm grey to the base of those. You have a look. See if I get the right feel. There. And the safety net is that you can erase it if you don't like it. It might stain the work marginally. Isn't that lovely? There you go. See, and the only thing that's left to do is a little bit more blackness there. The feet are cool. And we could already start by adding, you see, you can add light by just avoiding an area. So underneath the body, for example, it goes without saying that it's going to be, where are we? Let's come in there, sorry. So we'll add a bit of depth under there, and his foot is his leg there. Just establish where the leg is. See? But then I'd just stick to underneath. I wouldn't even go on top. Same as what we did. See? And this is where my old friend kicks in my head. It's like, well, so who says I've got to use colouring pencils to get shadow? Who says I can't use an HB pencil if it hits the spot better? Look, I can get into a point there that's so much easier than sharpening my pergoliner or my polychromo to an extreme point. There you go, look. So I've got my foot there, and I've got my shadow underneath his body, because clearly that's going to be, it's going to be darker there, isn't it? I could go in, look, I could add a bit of shadow with a Who says I can't? I don't know. Unless you've read the book that says you're not allowed to go in over colouring pencils with an HB. And at this point, at 61 years old, I'm going to do what works. There you go. That looks pretty cool to me. Right. There we are. See? And then perhaps, what colour do I think? I love that light grey. See? Look, isn't that lovely? So it's not white, but it certainly works. And then, I'll take my little blending nib and I'll just join the two. Where does dark grey meet warm grey? Look, and then suddenly it looks like it's been airbrushed. Beautiful. There you go. Black. Just turn the pencil around a bit. Cool. Well, oh no, wrong one. Blending pen I'm looking for. So that's been a whole hour. But do you know what? It took me an hour to get that one done as well. So it's not like there's been something wrong. Got to do that foot as well there. He's still there too. Right. Nice. Nice. There are no experts in this building. I'm no expert. I can only show you what I do. I hope that you enjoyed that, and I hope that you get that feel, that relaxation when you get into it. If I'm 61 and I used to do this kind of colouring when I was 15, 16, 20, 25, 30, 35. I've been doing this for so many years. For me, it's like putting on a wonderful, comfortable, it's like having a Linus blanket. It's like a comfortable pair of shoes. It's for some people, maybe quilting is the answer. For me, this is the answer. And I'm much better with pencils, always have been. I've been better with pencils than paintbrushes all my life. So when I pick up a colouring pencil, I've got control. When I pick up a paintbrush, see, I didn't start with paintbrushes until I was much, much, much older. And therefore, I'm not a painty person because I don't have that experience. By the time I get to 90, I'll be better at it because I've started working with paintbrushes now. I think you understand what I mean. I'm much better with a pencil, which is why the watercolour pencils are really good, because I've got such control of a pencil, much more than a paintbrush, much more than loads of little bristles. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed that. We'll be back again tomorrow. Tomorrow maybe, you see, because the hours go so fast, don't they? I'm going to think about what we're going to do. You could continue with your nuthatch, because there's no rule that says you can't. If you've got the bug and you want to carry on, then for goodness sake, carry on. You won't miss anything, all right? There's nothing that I'm going to do differently than what I've already shown you in the bird. I'm just going to do it in the leaves and in the branches and in the trunks, okay? So we could check in on our progress tomorrow, and then tomorrow I would really like to have another doodle, get an optical illusion going again, you know, because I really like that too. And again, this is me trying to please everybody, never going to happen. Some of you prefer that, some of you prefer that. So we just have to accept that we get together every day at 10 o'clock for our daily session, be it doodling or colouring, okay? And head on over to the pergamano.com website, check it out, it's epic, especially the way the artwork is tagged, that's so good. Stuart, thank you very much for helping us in the room today. I'm going to blog this in case you were struggling with that yesterday. And other than that, I wish you a very pleasant day. Whatever it is you do, be safe, be sensible, And I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, stretch. Cool, you don't realise how much you focus. And I'll see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning again. Bye-bye now.